What is going on, everybody? It is episode 771 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here once again on this Monday with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. We are back from the weekend. First off, I have a 20 to read from Corey Anderson. Tonight I leave for my last deployment. This will probably be the last live show I see for a while.
No!
Y'all are awesome. Keep doing the thing. Brett, did you see the Dadvocates live stream today? That should be the next cringe.
I did not see it. I to be honest with you, she was probably, was she on YouTube or was she on Instagram? I mostly only ever see her like short Instagram clips and stuff like that.
I wonder why it's cringe. Maybe I'll look into this.
I mean,
tomorrow.
she runs like 105Ks a year, so I feel like you're not allowed to criticize somebody who is that, well versed in exercise.
Okay, you're just shielded from all criticism if
Yeah,
you run 5Ks.
for the most part,
And they always have the bumper sticker to prove it, too.
Oh, I didn't know what that meant until just recently.
Yeah,
like,
that's a thing.
Olivia had to tell me.
We also love the Salt Life ones.
I just started. I'm sorry. I always feel like they'll say slut life.
A lot of people are well versed in the slut life.
And I was like, why would you put that on your car?
Well, Corey, you will be so sorely missed.
Stay
on
safe.
The show. What I will not miss is reading your vulgar super chats. Well, rather not having to read them because I never do. So I'll be spared of that nonsense.
But stay safe.
But stay safe, and we'll be happy when you come back.
Yes, indeedy. Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today, but before we get started, would you hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed here yet already. Please and thank you. Remember to share the video and the live streams with your friends and your family and your loved ones and the people that you like in your life, the people you hate in your life. I don't know why you're talking to them, but it's good on you if you're able to keep up with the people you don't like as well. If you have a mortal enemy, you should share it with them as well. The more people that you share the live streams and the episodes with, the faster this channel can grow. And look, it's been, so we took 2 weeks off at the beginning of January, which means we're always kind of playing catch up here on this end because one of the things is to keep the show going, people have to be watching the show, and it's been great to see everybody getting back into it, the live stream numbers and everything. So thank you guys all so much for joining us today. So what are we getting into? Well, on Friday, we talked about Carla Sofia Gascon, who is the star of Emilia, Perez, which is a Netflix movie. She is on a worldwide apology tour right now because, her bad tweets got dug up, and now she's kind of simultaneously on an apology tour with a little pinch of gaslighting in there as well as she tries to save her Oscar chances before it's like, what is it next? When are the Oscars? We're going to be talking all about the Grammys. We're going to be talking all about the Grammys today. But
let me see. The Oscars 2025 set for March 2nd.
Okay, so she's got a month to bend the knee.
All right, you got 4 weeks.
So
chop.
So we're going to be talking about her apology in this interview. We are also going to talk about Lily Collins because the discussion about celebrities and surrogacy certainly is a big topic right now. Mary has thoughts, I imagine. Mary has thoughts.
Yeah, I think that the conversation is shifting because leftists and self-identified feminists are coming out against surrogacy, which I wouldn't have expected.
Okay, so we're going to be talking that. We're also going to talk about, just recently we talked about Lady Gaga, being smart enough to give the right answer when Joker 2 flopped. Well, now Brie Larson seems to have learned her lesson, and when a feminist journalist tried to bait her into answers that would annoy everybody, she said, "Not today, Satan," and seemed to find a way around it, dodging it like a game of Frogger. So we're going to talk about that. We got a bunch of other stuff. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. And so what we're going to do is we're going to break these down into 3 sections. So we've got Grammys, non-political stuff. We've got Kanye and Bianca going off and, doing a bunch of degenerate shit on the red carpet. And then we've got Grammys, political stuff. So let's go ahead and get started with Beyonce.
We're going to get into all of the nonsense from the Grammys, but we're starting off with this. An absolute injustice that Beyonce, of all people, won the award for Best Country Album and Album of the Year for Cowboy Carter, which no one liked, listened to, or cared about. I will just say, anyone who says that this was their favorite album of 2024, you're just lying. You're just lying because Beyonce is one of those celebrities, one of those musicians you just cannot say anything negative about without people literally from the beehive swarming you to attack. So she won this award for Cowboy Carter. It's not even what I would call a country album. It's more so a parody of the entire country genre, mixed in with a little bit of distaste for the country music fan base itself, who are characterized as redneck, racist, hillbilly Trump supporters.
So these were the country albums that were nominated. It was Cowboy Carter from Beyonce, F1 Trillion from Post Malone, Deeper Well from Casey Musgraves, Higher from Chris Stapleton, and Whirlwind from Lainey Wilson. So, if it had been Post Malone, I suppose you could say the same thing as Post Malone. Clearly wanted to be a country musician, but then...
He's better at it than Beyonce,
Yes.
that's for sure. I mean, he actually is talented and would deserve the recognition. But this is just, the funny thing is that Beyonce pretended to be shocked when she won this award. But the fact that she won it at all proves the theory that the Grammys are always rigged in her favor. And that perhaps...
This is what, her 34th? Her 34th
She's
Grammy?
won, so many, but people act like she's been snubbed for years. Like, that's not true at all. But the running theory, the conspiracy theory online, which we've talked about in the past, is that Beyonce has goons that she's sending out all over the industry.
I mean, I think it's more likely that...
threaten other artists into clapping for her and supporting her when she didn't earn these awards at all.
Or Jay-Z just wrote the check.
Or it was a payoff from Jay-Z, right?
Here's the video of her. Oh, okay, look, I'll give her this. If she's not actually shocked, she has acted before
In Austin Powers.
And she was in that really bad movie Obsession.
Okay.
So she's acted before.
Yeah.
But
she's like, oh, me, little old Beyonce?
She didn't just win Country Album of the Year, though. She also won, what was it? Also, Album of the Year?
Yes, Album of the Year.
I suppose that follows. Or no, it would be weird if somebody was nominated for Album of the Year and Country Album of the Year, won Album of the Year, but didn't win Country Album of the Year. But it makes sense if you won Country Album of the Year, you could theoretically not win Album of the Year. Does that make sense?
Well, I think that they are giving her this award as a participation trophy, basically. And it was incredibly politicized, the way that they did it. I don't even care for Billie Eilish as an artist, but I think everyone agreed that Billie Eilish deserved this award just in terms of impact alone.
She's crying right here because she's very happy for Beyonce.
They're claiming Lady Gaga and Billie Eilish are crying witnessing Beyonce winning Album of the Year. It's the way we all love and root for Beyonce.
I actually kind of love the idea that she's just shamelessly crying for herself and not for another person.
That's literally the truth. Billie Eilish is probably crying because she deserved this award and Beyonce got it instead.
There's a 20 here from Zach Hates YouTube, says Sabrina should have won Album of the Year. I'm even really into pop.
Okay.
But Short and Sweet is a good album. I think he meant to say
also,
I'm not into pop, but what do you think, Mary?
It either would have been Sabrina Carpenter or Billie Eilish if the Grammys weren't rigged in Beyonce's favor. But they are.
That's what the first thing Olivia said was that how did Espresso not win
Song of the Year? Of course, just in terms of impact and streaming numbers and all of that, it should have been, but it wasn't.
I feel like the best way to judge these types of situations is how far it makes it. You don't judge these things by stan Twitter. You judge it by how deep into normie culture it makes it to. Mm-hmm. And Sabrina Carpenter made it very deep
everywhere.
into normie culture this year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all of the sorority girls were dancing to Sabrina's songs.
I did like her.
During Rush
I did like
season.
her flask.
Oh, her rhinestone
Sabrina
flask,
Carpenter was. I wonder what she was drinking.
Well, everyone was basically framing Beyonce's win as a win for all Black people, including her mother, Tina Knowles, praising the Grammys for the changes they've made to celebrate Black excellence. She said on Instagram, "I have to commend the Academy that in the most racist times, we're living in the most racist times. With all the pressure being put on everyone to do away with or not celebrate excellence or the exceptional accomplishments of Black people, they stepped up and did the right thing. It took a lot of courage and integrity to do that. I was moved by the speech of the head of the Academy, Harvey Mason, and his candidness about the desire to change. So thank you, Grammys, for being bold, for being brave, and for doing the right thing." I also saw this post that said, Beyonce, Kendrick, and Doechii swept the Grammys, and Taylor Swift went home empty-handed. Happy Black History Month indeed.
I think that Taylor Swift is so powerful that they wanted her to win, and she said no because she knows it's good for her public image to not win one year.
She had to give Beyonce a little pat on the head, maybe.
You know what I think they should do? Maybe this is just the guy in me, but to get the whole point of this statement is that the winner is unbelievably subjective, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody can make a case for their favorite artist winning. What we need to do is we need to so fine, you have the subjective stage of the awards ceremony, which is the nominations, right? But from there, it should become skills games where they all have to compete against each other in something that actually has like a score on a board so that we get a real winner.
A glorified American Idol.
I want it to I want it to be American Gladiator. They should have to compete in like skills competitions, like running an obstacle course.
I know that it's not just based on streaming numbers and popularity, and it shouldn't be just based on popularity. Like, I'm sure that they have their own standards for judging the actual quality of the music that's nominated. But even by those standards, Cowboy Carter was it was absolute buns. It wasn't good. And it wasn't good as country music either. But she was merely given this award clearly as a virtue signal. No. And you know, some other Black excellence that was displayed at the Grammys, Jaden Smith's outfit. He's wearing a house on his head. See that?
I don't know what that means, and I don't know why his sister...
Is that like a Nosferatu reference or something?
Maybe.
Like, it's like a castle that he's wearing, and his face has a cutout there.
Somebody said, look, there's going to be a lot of talk about humiliation rituals.
He brought the house down, they said.
She forgot her shirt.
She forgot her pants as well.
And her pants.
They also replied with this photo of Willem Dafoe wearing the same outfit.
Yep.
He's wearing a house. Like, is this a thing that they do?
I guess.
Is it like a statement on like the opposite of the White House? It's the Black House?
I'm sure there's somebody in the chat's gonna have like all the details about
Let us know the lore. Another embarrassing moment that I saw at the Grammys was Taylor Swift dancing like an awkward granny with hip issues.
I am back to my belief that Taylor Swift does this for relatability issues. I believe that she's been a professional singer and tour performer for how many years now? Well over a decade.
Most of her life.
Like, I don't think that you can actively be a bad dancer when you have to professionally dance like 200 days of the year for 10 years. So I think she does it on purpose to be more relatable to random white women. Like, I don't think that this is an accident.
Well,
here she is.
This is her dancing to Not Like Us. And it's just the most awkward thing you've ever seen. She's like doing this in stilettos, by the way, like totally drunk.
Yeah.
And then there was also a video of her dancing to Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso performance.
Yeah.
This isn't just the relatability factor. This is her projecting the image of being like a girls supporting girls thing.
Yes.
Like she's like trying to make people think that she's not a cutthroat businesswoman that sabotages other artists.
20 there.
This was from Gordon Shumway. Might as well give it to Beyonce. Do we really want to see Kanye go out there yet again and make an ass out of himself and interrupt the Grammys again and say Beyonce deserved the award? There was already enough cringe. Well, if they gave that Album of the Year award to Taylor Swift, we definitely would have seen a repeat of that event.
But you know what?
I would have loved to see that, though.
None of this matters because AI is here to help us and show us what actually could be if the Grammys went the way it should go. So this is my favorite video from the Grammys last night.
Cowboy Carter.
It's getting crazy.
Wow, I really was not expecting.
Neither was I. Neither was I.
Whoever said that AI couldn't serve humanity?
Look, we may end up being slaves to technology one day, but until then, it's going to be hilarious.
Great stuff.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's talk about humiliation ritual, shall we?
Yes. Kanye and Bianca Censori made their very first red carpet debut at the Grammys, leaving literally nothing to our imaginations. He was wearing an outfit in all black, but he walked out onto the red carpet with his wife, who was wearing nothing.
There.
And I'm telling you, nothing.
Technically, there is a sheer dress on.
There is a see-through dress that is basically like thinner than tissue paper, and nothing is being covered. She is not wearing any undergarments whatsoever, but we only showed you the censored version of this image.
I don't want to get in trouble.
Because we don't want YouTube to get us in trouble, but apparently he can do this in public and not get arrested.
Did you see the picture of like the kid looking around the corner?
What?
There was like a kid.
Whose kid is at the Grammys and why?
And there was like a kid looking around the corner as she was doing this. Yeah.
That is horrifying.
Yep.
Someone call CPS on whoever's child that was.
Yep.
But yeah, this was the way that they decided to debut as a couple to the music industry. And they were also seen licking each other and engaging in heavy PDA at the Grammys after party. And this is...
I mean, I've been told, at least according to most of what I saw on Twitter, that she didn't want to do this, that she was actually being coerced into doing this. So that's what I've been led to believe. Everyone's telling me that she couldn't possibly be degenerate and exhibitionist, that she's only doing this because he's making her. That's
There's
what they're
one
saying.
tweet here that says, any woman who has been physically, sexually, or emotionally abused will recognize the blank look on Bianca Censori's face. Her eyes say it all. Okay, I don't buy that for a second.
It's like when they talk
I never did.
It's like when they talk about body language experts.
No. Yeah, it's just not hard for me to believe in the slightest that a woman like Bianca Censori, as well accomplished as she might have been before meeting Kanye, would be totally down to debase herself for clout and money.
There was a comment on the Page 6 article that says, I think it's important to note that there are a large number of Make-A-Wish kids on that red carpet.
At the same time as them as well. I hope not. Oh, that's disgusting.
Yep.
Yeah. And, you know, there is a lot of talk about Hollywood humiliation rituals. And in some form or another, I would just like to point out that this is one of them. I think that...
Okay, can I ask a question? She was a model former, right? Was she a model, or she's just somebody
She's technically an architect.
Okay. Like, isn't it pretty common for somebody who's actually a model on a runway to leave a blank expression? Like, that's actually kind of the point, is to not make a specific look one way or another. Like, to me, this just looks like Xanax.
I think that this is part of the outfit. Her facial expression is part of the outfit.
And she was known for doing this before she dated Kanye.
The
Maybe
whole
not to this
point of
extent,
not
but-
wearing clothes is to wipe clean someone's entire individual identity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The reason she is showing up on this red carpet basically naked is to dehumanize herself.
I do not see this as a humiliation ritual in any... unless they're saying that he's humiliating
No, but literally
her.
what this is a sexual ritual which gets them off.
Yes. He
And
loves
it's
it.
in order to humiliate her. But what he doesn't realize is this humiliates and debases everyone involved. He has been humiliated, obviously. She is humiliating herself by going along with it. Everyone watching is being debased and degraded by having to watch this. The children who happened to be present at this event were also being exploited. And in the service of Kanye's pornography addiction. This is very clear to me.
It even connects to his family because she does resemble his ex-wife so much.
Super creepy. Yeah. So I mean, he's also trying to humiliate Kim by going for this Kim doppelganger and making her expose herself on the public stage. And Kanye has been very open about struggling with pornography addiction heavily in the past. He's talked about this, the way that it hurt his marriage and his family. And yet, despite all that, he seems to be leaning into it even more and also shoving it at everyone else's faces. So, you know, there was a rumor that the Grammys escorted them out for this display. That didn't end up being true, but that would have been the right call, because you cannot get away with just putting on whatever indecent, disgusting display you want in public just because you're an icon. No one cares. This isn't okay.
Well, no. Okay, so here's the thing. If we're talking about results purely, when you look up the Grammys, the first thing that comes up is this.
But you can't get away with this, especially once you have cultivated a Christian fan base.
I mean, he doesn't have that. I mean, he had that.
No, he still, I'm telling you, he currently does. He has cultivated a Christian fan base with worship music and professing his faith to anyone who will listen for years. And then suddenly...
That feels like a lifetime ago now. And even then, his fan base was already so widespread before that losing the Christian fan base won't hurt him in the way that it might hurt
It's not that I think it will. But suddenly he turns his back on that system of morals. And it wasn't that long ago that he was very passionate about it, by the way. I'll mention... He invited Bryson Gray to write his album with him in Tokyo back in the summer of 2023. That was not very long ago that he was all about his faith. So then he turns his back on that, and all of these fans or former fans were meant to think that he either was putting on a front the whole time or he has just drastically taken a turn for the worse.
I mean, I don't buy the identities of any celebrity. I think they shed skin regularly. So I guess I just, whenever I see somebody who says something I might agree with or disagree with, I just take it as their next layer in this industry. And he's kind of known for reinvention. So I wouldn't expect any identity to sit too long. I could see him immediately going back the other direction or towards something new and just move on with it and do what you will.
I think that he's completely fried his brain with
he
pornography. I think that he's completely fried his brain with both pornography and drugs.
He was on a bender the other day on Twitter.
Well, he's been on a drug bender. He's fried his brain with drugs. Milo, his former chief of staff, talked about this. He was addicted to inhaling nitrous oxide, and in extreme amounts that literally just kill off your brain cells in mass amounts. He could barely think or speak, and now that is evident in his social media behavior because he went on a tweet rampage
he was all
over the weekend. He first off thanked the Grammys for nominating his album Carnival. He said, "The world is so lucky to have me. This is delusions of grandeur." He said, "Trump's back in office. Ye is back a billionaire. The world might just be okay." He's referring to a recent estimate of his net worth at about $2.7 billion. I don't know if I believe that or how that's calculated.
Forbes apparently says nay.
He says, "Calling X Twitter is like calling Ye Kanye. I don't want to hear nobody call Twitter Twitter. I mean X. Don't call X Twitter."
Forbes says Ye's current net worth is at about $400 million.
So it's some discrepancy there.
I don't know who to believe.
He said, "I speak in third person from now on. Damn, just warming up. I'm rich. I can say whatever the F I want. I do this for the broke me."
I do like
Shout
the idea
out to
that
broke me. This one's for you.
I do like the idea that to him, he can only say whatever he wants if he's a billionaire, but at 400 million, whoa, hold on.
That's the broke him.
I better censor myself.
He said, "Shalom." He said, "F reading and anyone who can do it." The Democrats
I'm with you on that one sometimes.
The Democrats made me take the loser post down. Nah, I'm kidding. They don't control black people no more. Trump for life.
I don't know
I risked my life to wear a red hat. Then he turned it black. Hey kids, Twitter is a great way to express yourself and crash 3 companies at once. Yes, Jesus loves me. Isaac Cervantes III said, hello, Brad Dasosovich and Marvy Mergen. I love this show, but I always get your names wrong. Also, women, more is better than buck naked.
Buck naked. Yeah.
It always is.
That's close enough on my name. That's
Even
fine.
just dressing slutty is better than whatever she was going for there. Then Kanye ended up unfollowing everybody on Twitter except for Taylor Swift.
I did see Stan Twitter saying that this was was abusive towards her. They said he was stalking her by doing this.
He's posting screenshots of his private text messages with Elon Musk. And then he said, Kamala seems like a very nice human. I just want to say sorry to her kids. And then he just ended up posting a whole photo shoot of naked Bianca. Him and her alone in these Polaroid photos, just completely naked prior to the Grammys. He posted all of these in quick succession. They're still up. He deleted them on Instagram, though, and then followed it up with a photo of Don Lemon, posted like an hour ago. He said, this the goofball that started the rumor that me and my wife got kicked out of the Grammys. 3 decades of innovating music, and they always beeps like this. He's using a slur related to raccoons in that post. I don't know if that's true about Don Lemon starting the rumor, but
what did you think about the focus from the public on this? So last night, again, like whatever your algorithm is on social media, you're going to see people's takes based on what you tend to interact with. And the majority of the stuff that I was seeing on, I think it was on my following page, not the For You page, was people who were saying, how could Kanye do this to her? He's controlling her.
People you follow were saying that?
Yeah, a lot of them were saying stuff like that. What do you think? Do you think that's what it is, or do you think that it's? I mean, the truth is, I think it ends up somewhere closer to the middle. But I wasn't sure how I felt about that particular framing of how these things are going, or of how this went.
No, I don't believe that she's being controlled or abused.
Yeah.
I don't. I never did.
It's just weird because when we talked about the Bonnie Blue stuff, we talked about that, and then people said, but what about the men? So we talked about that too.
Mm-hmm. But you can never just get it right.
No, there's no like this is the right take. You kind of have to.
She shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But she's doing all of these debasing things in public, going out in public looking like a complete hoe.
Thank you.
Thank you. All I'm saying is she dressed like a hoe before she was with Kanye, but she was never going out like this. She was never going out naked or in her underwear. Like that was never a thing that she did before meeting him. So clearly it's due to his influence and his suggestion, and that's his preference. It shouldn't be if he respects his wife as his wife, rather than wanting to display her like a piece of meat to the entire world. But she is going along with it because there is some benefit in it for her.
Jupiter Clark in the chat says, or Kim is mortified. Kanye has kids. Oh my God.
This is a terrible example think about the kind of identity you would develop as a young girl when this is the way your father treats and looks at women. And what that teaches her about beauty and what the body is for. I mean, she's clearly not going to imbibe the correct messages about these things, and it's really sad. Yeah. She clearly already has too much exposure to social media. That's something that Kanye used to see as a problem, that he was opposed to her having social media, but now he's one of the reasons why it's not a safe place for her to be.
Yep.
So
all right,
it's all very tragic.
All right, well, let's get into so we covered the boring apolitical stuff. We covered the degeneracy. Time to get into all of the ways in which the music artist got to virtue signal last night.
There was no shortage of pandering and virtue signaling and political statements at the Grammys last night. First off, Lady Gaga gave a shout out to the trans community in her acceptance speech on stage, letting everyone know that trans.
So I think that actors are extremely jealous of musicians. Musicians can virtue signal, and it doesn't really affect them in
Their
this
bottom
way.
line.
They get to do whatever they want. And I never expected it any different to come from this. I do expect the Oscars to be different because actors are held to a different standard. Music being so, I guess, in a perfect world, music would be so deeply personal. Now that's ignoring the fact that they have songwriters and algorithms that curate what music makes it to the radios and everything. But like the idea that music being a deeply personal thing between a songwriter and a musician and then portraying it to the audience is different from a writer, a director, multiple script writers, and the nuance that's forced to be involved in the movie making process, which just doesn't allow for it. And actors aren't given the same quarter that musicians are. For some reason, musicians can just do it, and it just doesn't really matter.
I think another reason for that is that music is just a lower form of investment in your time.
Yeah.
So,
and money.
Money. You can just go on Spotify and listen to Lady Gaga's new single. It's not the same thing as going to the movie theater and buying a ticket to see Joker 2.
Correct.
You know?
It's
a way different level of investment and a way different level of just people involved. Like, there is a whole team of people that does the screenwriting for something like The Acolyte and the marketing for it that goes well beyond Amanda Stenberg. But she's still going to be the spokesperson for it. Whereas you can assume with most of these artists, yeah, they write by committee sometimes, but the songs don't mean anything. Usually.
And the music industry is, in many ways, the more degenerate than all of it. Mm-hmm. Like, in a lot of ways. Like, I still think one of the biggest differences between when I was a kid and I'm an adult is like R&B music used to be actually focused on the concept of love and family in some ways, and they don't really do that anymore.
Or at least like something relatable like heartbreak, and now it's all...
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Now it's just, we're all getting WAP and...
Yeah.
Just the most disgusting stuff you can imagine. Now, the second thing was Alicia Keys shouting out DEI in her acceptance speech.
Yes, she did. Hold on.
Because that's a hot button issue right now.
It is. Here we go. Here's the clip, guys. She's lying about the point of view part.
Right.
That's the whole point, is that people say that diversity is a good thing, but they don't actually mean diversity of opinion. So, you know, it's kind of like when they lie and they say immigrants rather than illegal immigration, which is actually the point of the issue. It's a lie by omission and a lie by language. So
Game. DEI is not a threat, it's a gift.
Equity is
okay, so remember last year when Jay-Z got the Global Impact Award? That's what she was speaking about, Global Impact Award. And since then, Jay-Z has been accused of R-wording a 13-year-old girl. So what does that say about his global impact or the moral system of any of the people that you just saw in that video?
I mean,
especially because they just invited him back anyway and acted like that never happened.
The big takeaway from most of it is it's a lot of word vomit that doesn't actually translate to anything. Again, the only thing that I think she said that I think is an outright lie is the idea that it supports diverse voices and opinions, because I don't believe that they support diverse voices and opinions.
Well, they think that your point of view is synonymous with your skin color because there's no way to divorce the two through a critical lens. And obviously, the statements you've seen so far are throwing shade at Trump and the executive orders that he signed in the first days as president. Third of which is Shakira, who dedicated her Grammy to all the immigrants in the U.S., not specifying whether they're legally here or illegally here. That's all of the immigrants.
That's
all
the
of
dishonest
them.
part here.
You're loved. You're worth it. And I will always fight with you.
All of you who have illegally entered this country and started receiving welfare and committing crimes, you're loved, you're seen, heard, and validated.
Well, Shakira gets a pass because she's a tax hero.
Oh, okay. And also because she's attractive. So
she gets a pass because, you know, she's pushing back against a tyrannical government trying to take her money. So, you know, I'll give her the pass on this one.
well, Chapel Roan decided to veer off from the normal virtue signaling rhetoric
In a world full of regular, everyday virtue signalers, I ask all of you to put as much work into it as a Chapel Roan, who finds a way to bring an avant-garde energy to her virtue signaling.
Yeah.
She's like, look, everyone's going left. I'm going to right with my virtue signaling.
Chapel Roan put her own unique twist on the virtue signaling speech at the Grammys with her own, like, her little Luigi Mangione moment, basically, calling out record labels for not providing health care to their artists.
Why does she look like she's going to be in The Wizard?
So my family.
Wait, how can you... Wait. You can thank the record label, but I guess that... See, look at the nuance. She thanked the record label, but she's also got critiques.
Okay. Her loudly breathing and chewing gum into the microphone, her hat falling off, her dropping the Grammy on the floor in the middle of this.
She was turning the page on her notes.
To turn the page in her little, like, diary of complaints against her record label. And then this caption says, Chapel Roan wins an effing Grammy and calls out the entire system and demands labels provide a livable wage and health insurance. I love her so much and how she refuses to conform to the industry. No one does it like her.
I mean, if that was true, the label would just drop her.
Oh yeah, if she posed a real PR threat to her label, she would not be a part of it.
Correct.
We have another 20 from Zach Hates YouTube. I think I like PCC more than IRL now, like the WAN show. I can put you guys on my nightstand and lay down to rest because you both have soothing voices.
Nobody's ever
also,
said that about me.
I love how Brett just bops around off tempo during the parties.
Yep.
That is what you do. You're just like uncomfortably bouncing.
So what's weird here is that, like, insurance exists outside of
We
your...
have another 20 just before you get on that point. Cesario JPN said Michael Jackson has 13 Grammys. Frank Sinatra has 11 Grammys. The Beatles have seven Grammys. The Rolling Stones have 3 Grammys. Judy Garland has 2 Grammys. Beyonce has 32 Grammys now.
Isn't it 34
How?
now? I think it's 34.
34. How? Most overrated artist of all time. Completely agree. And she's overrated for heavily racialized and politicized reasons.
Yeah.
And because her husband is allegedly a hitman.
Yeah.
So anyway, you were saying.
Oh, I mean, it's just like, you know, she's not like I guess if she's a salaried employee, she would be expected to get her own insurance if that company doesn't provide it for you. Right. And it's just used for a greater conversation on Twitter to turn it into single payer healthcare. It's weird government cope.
You know what's funny about Chapel Roan? She doesn't really do much to promote herself and her brand. Like, I'm sure she's gotten countless offers for brand deals and makeup brands and perfume and merch and everything you could possibly imagine. From what I can tell, she's turned down those offers to be more of an authentic artist, right? And I'm fairly confident that this woman is 26 years old and a millionaire. Like, she's at least worth something in the million range. And is complaining about how she doesn't make a livable wage, or at least she's complaining that she didn't in the past before she had earned it. And
I mean, it's the same thing that Sydney Sweeney was complaining about when she first got big, which is that it costs a fortune to keep up appearances.
Like, oh, it costs a lot of money to pay a mortgage on a mansion in Calabasas when you're 25 years old.
Yeah.
Color me shocked.
Yeah.
But that was your choice, and no one is required to subsidize that lifestyle for you, which is completely unnecessary.
Yep.
You could point out things that are necessary, like security, but they never do.
Yeah.
They always just say, like, oh, I bought a house and now I have a mortgage. This is so hard.
Well, it's the
typical.
It's the agent takes 10%. It's your lawyers, your agents.
Like, I have
your
to hire people
managers.
to do work for me because I'm a company. And like Chapel Roan just sounds like a typical Zoomer.
I love it because she's not complaining about what everybody else is complaining about. Even if I think she's wrong and a bit entitled, I think it's funny.
You do have a soft spot for her antics,
If
which I understand.
Well, I think that if you're going to be annoying, you should at least be annoying in an interesting way.
Yeah, have your own special brand of annoying.
Which she does.
Another controversy that arose from politics at the Grammys was millionaires asking for donations to the Palisades wildfires recovery. They actually brought a bunch of the Los Angeles firefighters out onto the red carpet, and you can see in the background, it says on the poster board there, Music Cares Fire Relief, and then they had The Weeknd get up on stage and ask people to donate.
Problems. He also had his own problems with the Academy up until this year. He boycotted last year because of a lack of transparency in the voting process.
How did they
I don't know how they changed
reconcile?
it. Maybe I don't know, but he just said that it was to his satisfaction, and that's why he came back this year.
Okay. Must be because he has an album that just came out, though. But yeah, they say nice sight on the Grammys red carpet. LA firefighters are recognized. The Palisades and Eaton fires are considered 100% contained now. But here this take says, there's something so odd and off-putting about a room full of millionaires and billionaires asking us to donate when we can barely afford food and healthcare ourselves. Do you think that's hypocritical of them?
No. I mean, put your money where your mouth is. Donate as well, but
I doubt that they are.
How is spreading the word ever a bad thing? What they're assuming is that they only did that and nothing else, and that's probably true of a good portion of them. But that doesn't mean that putting the idea out there is ever a bad idea.
It's true of the majority. I think people feel like they're being asked to donate to the celebrities because this is generally the area in which they live. Yeah. And the Palisades, I mean, I've heard from most Southern Californians that the Palisades, you just know that only the super wealthy live there. It's like basically
they're getting
Calabasas, but even a higher echelon than that, you know?
They're getting screwed out of that now too because of like they're going to have to put in like a certain percentage of like low income housing there.
After they're rebuilding? Yeah. Okay. We have another 20 from Dreamcast Night. Okay, Hollywood, the Festivus joke from Seinfeld is getting old. How many times do we need the list of grievance? Woke isn't a new thing is the lowest common denominator that would be Bible thumping if it was in vogue.
Well, I'll tell you what. So if the idea here is that they got to get it out of their system once a year, like they build it all up into a big fervor and then they get it out at the award shows, I'm okay with that. If they were to be like, look, if I can't do it in the movies, if I can't put it in the TV shows, and if nobody would buy my music if I did it, I guess I have to do it at the award show. I would say that that's a fair trade-off. Make the art accessible to everyone. Don't virtue signal with your art, and then make your lame, boring, boilerplate political statements when you're at these stupid award shows. You're already disconnected from reality. You're already in a world that most of us will never really understand. You might as well do it there.
It's like The Purge.
Yeah.
They're purging all of their emotions about Trump all at once. And it's this big cathartic moment
fair
for them.
To point out that this is like, we're 2 weeks into his term and he got to work right away, so they're probably a bit raw from just how much work he's done.
It's really hard for them lately. Yep. Especially Janelle Monáe, who took this opportunity to throw Nelly under the bus for performing at the inauguration.
All of them, I think what it is they want back pay for having to, they want hazard pay for having to look up how tariffs work.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I think it is.
That must have been really tough for them. She just had to throw that out there. That's so awkward.
I used to like Nelly, but then he went to perform for Donald Trump. I don't give a fuck. I'm with my family. Ain't nobody gonna hate on us, and I'ma look back like I don't give a fuck. I care about women. I care about Hispanic. I care about Spanish people. I care about Mexicans. I care about
no one is listening.
You look like a motherfucking fool going to the inauguration to participate with some
feminine shaming.
I care about women. I care about Hispanics. Like, those are not bars.
I
Janelle.
noticed she didn't call out Snoop Dogg. Too much industry power.
Yeah, what's that about?
Yeah.
And there were plenty of others you could have called out, including Joy Villa.
Is
She's
it
the only-
Villa or Villa?
It's definitely Villa. She was the only vocal Trump supporter at the Grammys, wearing a red hat.
I think that's true every year.
The hat says, just says, the hat stays on. It doesn't say MAGA.
I think the ones that should be deported are being deported. To be honest, I'm a Latina. My family came from this country to this country legally. And I love to see rapists, human traffickers deported. I don't want to see them here. I want us to be free for all colors, for all people. Like, that's what makes America great again.
She's like, the reporter's like, why would you say something so controversial?
I would just like to put Joy Villa on blast for a second because she is, in fact, a Scientologist. I tried to approach her just to say hi when I was at CPAC one time, like years ago, just a handful of years ago. She had a handler going around with her everywhere, and the handler wouldn't let me speak to her. It was very strange. She had this handler who was asking me, why do you want to speak to her? Like, it's not even like a security guard. It was like she wanted to vet my question for her in case I was like recording it. Yeah. I did want to ask her about Scientology, but you're not allowed to do that. So I don't know. Maybe she'll show up here one day and I'll get to finally ask her.
That would be cool. All right. So you know what? Again, that was a fair amount of political statements. It was all women who made political statements. I didn't hear any from any men, unless you count the guy behind Janelle Monáe going, yeah, every time she said something.
Unless you count the guys who were like clapping like seals the whole time.
It was all of their maternal instinct has been bonded down into politics. So
it's dark but true.
Yeah. All right, what would you like to see? Cringe or cute of the day?
You decide.
First, there's a 20.
I do have a 20 from Just 'Cause I'm Free. Just want to send a shout out to Bert on his new little edition. Congrats to Bert and his wife. Also, congrats to Tim and Allison. Up next is Brett and Olivia. 2025 is great so far. Yeah, Chris Bertman was talking about his wife going into labor over the weekend, and I was saying some prayers for them. Sounds like everything went well.
Yep, and I saw Tim and Allison as well.
Oh, really? The same time?
Got married.
Oh, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, got married.
Definitely didn't hear about Tim and Allison having a baby.
Well, I don't believe not right now.
That wouldn't be right now. That would be.
But soon. Yeah.
I don't even remember how much longer that would be.
Yep. So
yes,
congratulations to all of them. Congratulations to all of them. All right. Let's see. I don't know how bad the cringe is, so we'll start with the cringe. So
okay.
Give me 1 second here.
This is a Taylor Swift cringe, which I felt was appropriate for, the day after the Grammys.
All right, here we go.
This is from her documentary, Miss Americana.
If you're listening, on the screen, the text says there's no such thing as a slut.
As a slut. There is no such thing as a bitch. There is no such thing as someone who's bossy. There's just a boss. We don't want to be condemned for being multifaceted. Sorry, that was a real soapbox.
No, oh
Why did I say sorry? You're just...
It's because we're trained to say sorry.
Yeah,
There's no such thing as mansplaining. It's just men explaining stuff.
Legitimately are. We're like, sorry, was I loud? In my own house that I bought with the songs that I wrote about my own life. There is no...
That was great.
So that's what you're missing if you haven't watched the Taylor Swift Miss Americana documentary. Has Olivia watched it? I know she's a Swiftie.
Probably. I don't know. She watched the tour
If she hasn't, you guys should watch it together.
She watched the tour video like every time we flew last summer.
Thank you.
She watched the Eras tour movie like every time we flew somewhere last summer.
All right, we have cute of the day.
Yes, hold on, please. This one here is from Brian Davis. Addition 2 for my family is my twin brother's cat Elvis. It looks like our cat Chloe.
It has a mane, like a little lion.
It looks like Chloe.
Looks very soft.
I've been wondering lately. So I pick Chloe up a lot, And Chloe used to never let me pick her up. And I don't know if it's actually because Chloe lets me pick her up or if I'm just sneakier now and better at like, look that way. And then I grab her and then hold her up. But
Catch her by
we
surprise.
love Chloe. All right, let's get started then.
Last week, the star of Netflix's Emilia Perez, Carla Sofia Gascon, got exposed for a plethora of offensive and deeply problematic tweets from recent years. These aren't decades-old posts. They are quite recent, in fact. And now this actor, who, by the way, identifies as transgender, has issued an official apology, an official statement, and corrections to so-called misinformation about these posts. And in case you missed our first coverage of this incident, these posts were regarding George Floyd, Muslims, lots of posts that were just generally against religion, lots of posts that were, first of all, these were translated from Spanish, so possibly there could have been some misinterpretation going on, but most of it was some spicy takes on race, religion, Islam, and Hitler.
Everything that I saw from people was saying that it's actually worse when it's not translated.
The one that I really couldn't figure out was that tweet about Hitler.
Yeah.
Because there was just no way it could make sense to me why this person would say it. But here is the official statement from Carla Sofia Gascon's Instagram post. It features in the image a symbol of the Buddhist symbol, the white lotus, which I would like to describe. It symbolizes purity, spiritual awakening, and faithfulness. It represents the purity of the body, speech, and of mind as it emerges from muddy waters yet remains unstained. You'll realize why that's relevant in a few minutes. I'll just read through the translated version of this post because it was written originally in Spanish. So it says, "They already won. The first thing I'd like to do is ask for the most sincere forgiveness from those who feel bad about the way I've expressed myself at any stage of my life. I have many things to learn in this world. The forms in which I learn are my biggest defect. Life has taught me something I never wanted to learn. It's clear to me that no matter how much my message is my message, without using the proper words, the message can convert into another. I've gone from living a normal life to life at the top of my profession in just 6 months. Now my responsibility is very great because my voice not only belongs to me, but to many people who feel represented and hopeful by or with me." Gascon wrote that in recent years she has relied heavily on Nichiren Buddhism as a guiding principle in her life and believes it has changed her and those who surround me for the better. She admitted that she's not the same person she was a decade ago due to the religious shift, adding, "Although I have not committed any crimes, I was not perfect either, and I am not perfect now. I just try to learn and be a better person every day." It should be noted, though, that these tweets are all from 2020 or later.
I think they said 2019.
2019 or later. Yeah. So we're not talking about things that happened a decade ago.
She rounded up.
Not like I care. I'm not one of these people who's like screeching about racism or sexism or Islamophobia or whatever. Like, we don't care. We're just finding this whole thing amusing.
There was about 5 or 10 years of rounding up there.
Yeah, exactly. So Gascon repeated the opening statement of her response, writing, "They have already won. They have achieved their objective, to stain my existence with lies or things taken out of context. Anyone who knows me knows that I am not a racist. You'll be surprised when you find out that one of the most important people in my current life and that I love the most is Muslim, nor any of the things for which I have been judged and condemned without trial and without option to explain true intention. I've always fought for a more just society and for a world of freedom, peace, and love. I will never support wars, religious extremism, or the oppression of races and peoples. They have created posts as if it were me insulting even my colleagues, She's referring to Selena Gomez,
This is
and we'll
the
get
ultimate,
to that in a
this is
second.
the ultimate level of gaslighting. It's actually
Oh, yeah.
expert level gaslighting.
I almost believe that he's a woman with this level of manipulation.
There was a hilarious amount of people saying, you know, despite the awful things said, you shouldn't misgender.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just insane. It concludes, things that I wrote to glorify as if they were criticisms, jokes as if they were reality, words that without the background only seem like hate. Everything as long as I don't win anything and I sink. Referring to possibly the Oscar that he is nominated for, Best Actress. I care very little whether you win anything. I just care about you being okay and that no one will harm you. And then this was the last sentence. Mother, this life has put me here to send a message of hope and love to this world. I will do it. It sounds like someone has some delusions of grandeur. Like, what is this grandiose language? Like the entire world is conspiring against you because you posted something about George Floyd and like Hitler a few years ago?
Side effect of like the tunnel vision you get on social media because you think everything revolves around you.
Now, in a separate...
You are your own like PR person on social media, which leads to this type of language.
When, you know, there should have been probably people at Netflix responsible to do background checks on this person's social media profiles.
Like, there's got to be somebody can create like a master list of the words that you just like put in to
How does this not
somebody's
exist?
X page and put like look up their page and look up a bunch of like the really, really heavy words that you know are associated with bad stuff or the things that are going to get them in trouble, and then go look for it.
Not like I have any, you know, I don't have any sympathy for this person. Just so we're clear, this person was also tweeting criticisms of forced diversity at the Oscars, meanwhile is perfectly happy to be a beneficiary of it as the first openly transgender actor ever nominated for an Oscar. This is considered a historic first for the Oscars, and this is a progressive milestone that we should all celebrate. But only when it suits your interests, right?
Correct.
So, in a separate statement from an interview with CNN, which was also in Spanish, Carlos Sofia Gascon stated that the tweet calling Selena Gomez a rich rat who is trying to clout chase off of her ex-boyfriend and his wife, Justin and Hailey Bieber, Gascon says, of course, that's not mine. I have never said anything about my partner. I would never refer to her that way.
Like I said, that's gold medal level, like gaslighting.
I just really hope that these links are archived because it's very clearly a real post. Like nobody, you didn't just like what? You were eating and then like some of your food fell on your phone screen and it like typed out
Have you ever seen
an
the,
insult to Selena Gomez, who you just happened to work with a few years later.
The thing where like the person's washing their hands and a drop of water falls on their screen and it sends an I miss you message to their ex.
Exactly. Like, oh, you were just like looking at your phone while you were in the shower and like the mist typed out that tweet. It wasn't you. Like, do you just think we're idiots?
The ones where the person says, I'm going to make a healthy meal, and they go to cut a carrot, and then they fall, and they get into a car and drive to McDonald's and accidentally order McDonald's.
Exactly. It's just completely dodging accountability. And again, like, neither of us are examples of the people who are offended by this.
No, I don't care.
I'm looking on Twitter and scrolling through all of these absolutely proclaimed responses. Like, I can't believe that we couldn't trust this person to represent the trans community and whatever. Like, solidarity between all of these marginalized communities. It's just funny when they eat their own. It is funny to me.
I mean, the same thing was happening in the comments of the Chapel Roan video. They're like, how dare you talk about livable wages when there's houses still smoking from burning down in the Palisades? How dare you care about this when there's this other thing that you could care about even more, because what I care about is what you should care about, which is why virtue signaling of any sort is always going to fail, because you will never be pure enough for anyone.
And apologies in general, because This is only the beginning of what will now be a month-long apology tour to recover chances of winning an Oscar.
Yeah, the reason this is being speedrun is because there's an award show coming up. And I believe that Zoe Saldana ended up winning like a, what was it, like a Saturn Award or something the other day. You know, like still won an award despite the fact that they were mad at her for saying like, oh no, this happened at such an inconvenient time. And they're like, what do you mean? Like it's the issue that matters, not the timing.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the public lashings so far are not sufficient yet. Here's the first response I saw. If that were the case, you would have apologized sooner before this came to light.
Okay,
it's all fake. She's not sorry she did anything. She just got caught and is about to lose her Oscar.
There is this myth that they think happens where somebody who said something offensive 10 years ago is going to just for no reason whatsoever go and bring it up. That doesn't happen.
That would be super strange. In fact, the only person I've seen do that is Jenna Marbles. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
She ended up seeing all of these people getting canceled for other reasons and decided to just go ahead and cancel herself before anyone else could get a chance to do it. So Jenna Marbles, she pulled up this laptop and showed this video of her in blackface making fun of Nicki Minaj like back in the late aughts. And she's like, this is what I did. I am an irredeemable, racist white piece of shit, and I am never going to be publicly on the internet ever again. And then after that, nobody heard from her again. She was just gone off the face of the planet.
Fact checking myself here. She won, Zoe Saldana won an award at the London Film Critics Circle. Didn't you know that was a thing?
I've never even heard of that.
They're too busy over there not caring, apparently, about Carla.
Kiss that Oscar goodbye, sweetie. Cancel Emilia Perez.
Yeah. It's I don't think that this is. I think there's been enough time. I don't think she's gonna win. Zoe Saldana. I don't think I meant Zoe Saldana. Because she's up for one of his awards. I don't think that Carla Sofia Gascon is going to win any awards either. I think they're absolutely going to go another direction.
Well, realistically, the co-stars shouldn't be punished for this one person's behavior, but that's just how it'll work anyway.
Yeah, it's the nature of the beast in that
because
industry.
Then in any byline, people could say.
Then they're mad at her. She's like, "Why didn't you go look into all of your coworkers' Twitter history before signing on to work with them?"
They could say Carla Sofia Gascon, who starred in Oscar-winning performance, or like starred in Oscar-winning TV show or Oscar-winning movie, for the rest of his career. So they don't want to give any of the credit to this person who has proven themselves to fall out of the ranks, you know?
Yep. It's going to be an interesting award show because it's going to loom over it. It's going to have like what was that Dane Cook bit where he says he calls out some heckler and he says, and then like he shouts the guy down and the place gets really quiet. He goes, great. It's like daddy hit mommy at the dinner table and we're all trying to eat still.
Exactly.
That's what this is going to be like in a month. It's going to be really awkward anytime this stuff comes up.
Let's read some super chats. Shane H. Wilder said, happy Monday, Brett and Mary. The pilgrimage to the smallest Catholic church was amazing. It has no electricity or AC, so it got a bit sweltering. You all got prayed for, whether you like it or not. Well, thankfully, I do like it. And I appreciate your prayers very much. That sounds like a fun trip.
Do you have any places like that you'd like to visit? Like unique places related to
like faith?
Faith, yeah.
I mean, I have so many times now. And to be honest, it was underwhelming almost every time. I'm going to be honest. Like, I went to plenty of sites of like Marian apparitions. I went to Knock in Ireland. I went to Lourdes in France.
Okay.
And I didn't really have a special devotion to either one and didn't have any sort of special feeling when I was there, but it's beautiful.
Have there been any places you weren't expecting to be that type of experience but ended up being that way, where it ended up being a pretty special experience?
My home parish right here in West Virginia, baby. Corey Anderson said, Dadvocate has a YouTube channel. She was not cringe.
Okay, cool.
Well, I don't know. What's the cringe then?
I have okay, so maybe this is just me. Like the people I follow on social media, I keep it there on social media most of the time, and I don't follow them off platform.
on the one platform.
Like if I like you in your short form Instagram content, I'm not going and looking for your YouTube content.
Yeah, that's.
I don't even like making
true
it
of
off like
most
if you make YouTube shorts, I don't even like making it to your long form content.
Does it shatter your
except for firearms stuff. Like if we're talking about like short form reviews of firearms, then that will like funnel me over to like longer ones.
Is it sort of like I don't want to get to know you?
No. It's literally just I'm a creature of habit.
Okay.
Just like I see long form content, I'm like, ew, not you. No
thanks.
No, thank you.
Ulvin McGoth said bleh.
Thank you.
Okay, now still not sure what that's about. Corey Anderson said congrats to Tim and Allison on the nuptials. Yes, congrats. Shane H. Wilder said Godspeed and one last damn it, Corey, for the road. Thank you for that, Shane.
And then do one more there.
Urashima Otaru said Mr. He/she gotta do a lot of butt kissing for Oscar.
I don't know if there's
It's
gonna
true.
be an Oscar. All right.
I doubt it.
Let's move on.
It was recently announced that Lily Collins and her husband welcomed a new baby via surrogate, and this is a growing trend among female celebrities in Hollywood. They have the means to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars at times on surrogates to carry their children instead of themselves, and they also lack the desire to carry their own children based on concerns about vanity or perhaps what they claim are concerns about health. Really, I find it interesting that this has sparked a conversation about the sanctity of life and the ethics of practices like IVF and surrogacy among people I never would have thought it interested, including self-professed feminists, leftists, liberals in general who value human choice above all things, especially in issues of sexuality. So after it was announced that Lily Collins used a surrogate to birth her baby, it sparked a massive controversy online, and I saw a lot of critical responses. One person said, people make a lot of comparisons to The Handmaid's Tale, but surrogacy is actually the closest equivalent. And I guess if you're unfamiliar with the practice, it basically means that you select a woman who wants to rent out her womb to gestate another couple's child. And for context here, all surrogacy pregnancies are high-risk pregnancies because, generally speaking, this surrogate is carrying the genetic material of two unrelated people to themselves. So their body is at an incredibly high risk for rejecting that fetus and also going into preterm labor. And there are a lot of aspects to it that people don't know about, like the kind of bonding that happens between an unborn child and the mother who births this child. It's incredibly traumatic for the child to be separated from its birth mother, regardless of the circumstances. But it tends to be celebrities who make use of this the most. And I think it really comes down to vanity and selfishness. And I think they're using surrogacy as a status symbol. It's sort of like having bragging rights that you're so rich and high status that you don't have to do lowly human things like giving birth. So I saw one other take that said, the future, pregnancy is for poor women.
Yeah.
It's similar to rich women hiring wet nurses back in the day. They would hire lower status women to breastfeed their children because it's seen as a status symbol to not have to engage in something like that. That's like low or like earthly in some way.
Yeah.
You know?
We have the statement from her husband here, who I guess they did read a lot of the comments.
I
I mean,
see.
it's fair enough that apparently this is a discussion that isn't just staying in like the bowels of Twitter.
It's going,
making it
further
online.
than that.
So he says, thank you for all the kind messages and love. We are overjoyed and very grateful. In regards to the unkind messages about surrogacy and our path to having a baby, it's okay to not be an expert on surrogacy. It's okay to not know why someone might need a surrogate to have a child. It's okay to not know the motivations of a surrogate surrogate regardless of what you assume, and it's okay to spend less time spewing hateful words in the world, especially in regards to a beautiful baby girl who has brought a lot of love into people's lives. That's all for now because she just pooped and I need to change her diaper.
Look, I'm sure that he has a clouded judgment because he loves his child.
Mm-hmm.
But what he isn't acknowledging, it is kind of disingenuous, is that no one was saying anything hateful about the child.
Yes, it's a straw man argument to say that this is a hateful discussion. If anything, these tend to be... Okay, so some people will go with shock factor when they bring up these topics, but for the most part, to engage in this discussion at all involves a certain level of nuance that means you have to care a lot about it.
Yeah.
Like I said, again, this is one of those topics that's going to interest Mary a whole lot. And for me, when I come across this topic, I'm like, my instinct is that money shouldn't be involved. My instinct is that money shouldn't change hands for something like this.
That is the law of the land in Canada, from what I hear.
Yeah.
You are allowed to have a surrogate in Canada, but you're not allowed to have any sort of financial transaction involved. And I oppose it whole cloth. Like, I don't think that this should be legal in any circumstances, especially because you are commodifying the children and you're also inherently traumatizing the children. Once they're born, they are traumatized by being separated from the birth mother. So there is literally no way to avoid that. And it's nonsensical to me when you clearly have the option to adopt. But you just don't want to do that because there is an element of status seeking in paying for this luxury service.
It reminded me of the story where Jim Caviezel, who is a very pro-life person, obviously, played Jesus Christ in Passion of the Christ. He had a pro-choice friend who basically, he did the argument that they always do. He says, well, if you're so pro-life, why don't you adopt children from a foreign country? And if you do that, I will change my position on pro-life. And we all know that that's bait and that's not going to actually happen. Yeah. He did do that. He did adopt children from, I believe it was China. And then the guy didn't change his position.
Oh.
Shocking.
Surprise, surprise.
Shocking.
Well, I'm sure that he planned to do that anyway. And it's not like the choice to adopt or not adopt legitimizes the moral argument.
You're accepting their moral framework when you acquiesce.
Exactly. But, you know, I feel bad for her husband who clearly doesn't understand the argument that's being posed. It has nothing to do with Lily Collins. It has nothing to do with any particular person who's using a surrogate for their child. It's about the practice in general. And it just so happens that these high profile, high status, very wealthy people are the ones who use surrogates the most. Yeah. And it's primarily being shown to us through entertainers. And I saw some people pointing out that it's because they have a special interest in this. One person said, just such a coincidence how so many rich women whose careers are built around their physical attractiveness have to use surrogates, isn't it? Another mystery we'll never get to the bottom of. So basically they're saying that Lily Collins felt she had to choose a surrogate to have a child because she is on camera so much that she needs to maintain her figure and cannot undergo the changes.
I would be interested to see if this is happening when we talk about high-level CEOs with wives. Are they having surrogates, or is the husband insistent that they actually have the child, right? Because she's not a front-facing person who needs to be on camera. It would be interesting to know where this trend lives and dies.
They also claimed that Lily Collins needed a surrogate for health reasons and that she was deemed medically infertile due to a history of eating disorders. I know that she has publicly talked about having anorexia. I don't know the current status of that, but they were claiming that, she might not be able to get pregnant because of that. That might very well be true. It still doesn't make the decision to hire a surrogate ethical. Yeah. It doesn't. And it's a sympathetic reason that you can offer for it, but they're also claiming like in her husband's statement, they're claiming we don't need a reason.
Yeah.
We don't need a justification, and you don't get to have one. Well, when you tell the world that you used a surrogate to have a child, there are going to be questions about that. There are going to be people who oppose that.
Downside of being a public figure.
It is what it is. Yep. Another person said, I don't know where on the political spectrum this opinion falls, but I think the concept of a womb for hire is egregiously exploitative. Another said, rich people renting out poorer women's bodies so they don't have to birth their own babies is creepy, and it's weird to me that so many don't see how gross and dystopian this practice is. So these are takes coming from ostensibly left-wing people who ostensibly have very liberal opinions about human sexuality and issues of life, probably people who are pro-choice even. But they have concerns about the ethics of surrogacy, and it's becoming increasingly relevant. I just saw last year this movie called The Pod Generation, which is like a kind of a sci-fi take on the whole thing. Like, what if we got to a point where artificial wombs were the norm, and you basically were incentivized to use one of these artificial wombs by your employer? They would even pay for it. Because it makes you a more efficient worker.
Like sending them to another state to have an abortion rather than paying for maternity
It's not too
leave.
far off from reality.
It's not.
And that, I mean, that movie wasn't great, but it was definitely an interesting concept, and it feels so much closer to reality than fiction, and it's going to be maybe not artificial wombs close in the future, but surrogacy is going to be way more accessible in my prediction, and it's not going to be necessarily something for the ultra wealthy anymore, and it's going to be far more common. I noticed too that like even the surrogates aren't even like paid that well.
Yeah, that seems to be like, we were shocked the last time we covered this how low the
sometimes like 60 to 80 grand, which is like significantly less than a lot of like fake email jobs could give you. And to literally give your body to these people who are like legally interested in it. And there are disputes that come up. Like I remember this one case that happened in the UK where this surrogate was, she was somewhere along in her pregnancy. Doctors find out that the fetus has Down syndrome. And then the parents tried to legally force this woman to get an abortion.
And she said
she
no.
refused. She refused, but they really tried to force her with you know, basically saying like, we own your womb and we own whatever is in it, so we have the final say. It's sickening. And then people just don't think about the consequences.
Like it sounds
just like,
it sounds like a
love is love.
rare example, but once you hear it, it's like, okay, how can you actually know that that's one of the possible outcomes and still be okay with it?
It's literally love is love for reproduction purposes. One of the very few takes I saw in defense of Lily Collins said, the hate for surrogacy is so crazy to me. Not every woman is able to have biological children, and not all of them want to adopt, which is unfortunate, but it's their choice. I think we should all just mind our own damn business. It's a lot more complicated than that. It always is. And if you don't want to adopt, well, I'm sorry, but your desire is not the end all be all. And you know, you are not entitled to another human being. That's literally what slavery is.
It's, I remember there was an episode of House where there's a child with severe autism, and they have a whole discussion about how the parents were both, you know, high earning executives who lived in the city. And then when they had a child with autism, they had to move to the suburbs and take jobs that made less money because they had to spend more time at home with the child. You don't get to choose. And that was kind of the point, is there's this really, really amazing moment at the end where the kid has a real moment of human connection with the house character, and the parents are overjoyed. It's the simplest thing in the world to a normal child, but to them it was the most amazing thing in the entire world. The point was to show you that, you know, they're grading on a curve because their child doesn't, you know, behave the way a normal child does, but they didn't have a say in the matter, and they have to accept what it is,
right,
for what it is.
Yeah, and believing that your desire as an individual is tantamount, it completely runs headlong into the entire calling of parenthood, which is to not put yourself first before your child.
There's also a great episode of The X-Files called Eve that involves discussion of eugenics and in vitro fertilization, and that was back in 1993. That's the more evil side of things. I recommend going and watching that episode.
I don't know if I remember that.
It's the
I feel
one
like I watched all of them,
got
but I didn't.
it's got the evil twins, the daughters, and they're all they all look the same. They're all called Eve, and this lady worked at an IVF clinic, and they were doing these experiments. It was very early on in the 90s, so this was a very different. It was a very different discussion to talk about IVF back in 1993 than it is now. And certainly if you watch that episode, you didn't want to have a child via IVF after, the evil daughters kill their own parent or kill their adopted parents. So.
I mean, it's been around for longer than people really realize, but it's definitely far more common these days.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It was a
it was back then.
Very different discussion back then.
All right. Zach Hates YouTube said, sorry for the typo, Brett. My screen is very broken.
That is okay.
We don't even remember what it was.
It was the one, it was the 20 at the beginning there. It was,
okay.
Yeah.
Yurishima Otaru said, first time black person was ever nominated for a Grammy.
Yes, that's what they're saying. This was the first time ever.
In 2025.
It's never happened before.
Yeah, groundbreaking. Corey Anderson said, I would be pissed if I were sitting behind Jaden. Yeah, his house hat is just covering everything.
Actually, maybe that's what it is. Maybe he got to look at the seating chart early, right? He got to look at the...
Wanted to really get back at somebody.
He got to look at the seating chart early, and he's like, man, I hate that guy.
No, it's just his dad is sitting behind him. No, I don't think Will Smith was there. Shane H. Wilder said the Pointer Sisters won in the country category for Fairy Tale in 1974 and Black Women, and they did Real Country. Sorry Not Sorry Beyonce, GTFO.
Yeah, we didn't even really get into a discussion of like the watering down of genres and how a lot of it all sounds the same. Just adding twang to something in a banjo, probably not even a real banjo, like an electric, simulation of a banjo doesn't necessarily make it country.
Right, that's why they had Taylor Swift present the award to Beyonce, because she is the epitome of like being able to shift genres from like country to pop and like, I don't know, maybe Taylor Swift will one day veer back into country music, but now is not
probably
the time.
in her later years.
Yeah,
I bet you. Hey, me, it's me in HD says, yes, Brett, it was season 1 of the X-Files. Yeah, the funny thing about that episode is that before I ever saw the X-Files, I actually read the X-Files novelizations about those episodes, like early on.
Those are like after the show?
Yeah, so this was back, like, I was poor. Like, we couldn't afford season DVDs. And back then, you didn't even get season DVDs. If you got, like, a season of the X-Files on VHS, they basically chose, like, these are the 6 episodes you get. Here's your box set, which I couldn't afford, but I did get we did have half-price books in Minnesota, so I would read the X-Files novelizations. I didn't actually see the series until like years later.
Corey Anderson said, I'll say this, Bianca is an attractive woman. Nobody disputes that. She's just when it comes not a good person.
When it comes to taking the that test, she certainly showed her work.
She likes flashing children.
She does. Yeah, that picture.
Tell me that Kanye could even get away with that. Like, could Kanye just walk out there with his dick out? Like, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think that would really go well for him.
Let's do 2 more.
Pop Culture Junkie said, I didn't watch the Grammys because I knew I would never get that time back. Figured you folks would give me all the highlights or lowlights. Thanks. You are very welcome. We actually didn't watch the broadcast, though. Everyone just watches the clips now.
Everyone just watches the clips.
Nobody watches it on TV. And that's why the ratings go further and further down every year.
I don't really care what Trevor Noah has to say.
Trevor Noah?
He was the host, right? He made a tariff joke.
Or was it...
I thought it was Trevor Noah.
I thought it was like Don Lemon because Kanye posted about Don Lemon.
I think it was Trevor Noah.
I guess Don Lemon isn't really
Who the frick gets Don Lemon to host an award show? If so, that's a mistake.
Trevor Noah sucks, though. He's like really unfunny.
Listen, I'm going to lose the most out of this trade war because I won't be able to get my all dressed or my ketchup chips. I am the real victim of the American-Canadian tariff trade war.
What else comes from Canada?
Who knows?
Anything
Maple
that
syrup?
matters? Potatoes for Seamus said, "Hey Brett, here's some Diddy dollars for your party."
I didn't need to hear that.
We don't want to spend your dirty Diddy dollars.
Seriously, bro. All right, let's hold off on the rest. Let's move on then. So, guys, if you guys didn't know, we recently spoke about how Lady Gaga really did do the smart thing when she was giving this interview where she kind of said, you know what, people didn't like my movie and that's okay. As an artist, I think a lot of people who have criticisms of Hollywood in general appreciate that approach because they're not blaming the audience for the fact that their movie bombed. People like it when a celebrity takes responsibility once in a while. What I like seeing now is these celebrities realizing that these journalists are not their friends. These journalists are, in fact, not just the enemy of the people, they are the enemy of the celebrities themselves because they're always trying to trap them in gotcha questions that they can then pull for sound bites so that we can then dunk on them later and it becomes one big media circus. And Brie Larson found a way to just sidestep it all together.
Yeah, in a recent interview with The Telegraph, this journalist placed feminist bait right in front of Brie Larson's face.
This.
I'm sure it was so difficult for her to resist, but she has at this point gone through a boot camp of media training where people told her if you want to win back the good faith of any audience, you need to stop being insufferable in interviews. So she took that to heart. She went silent and refused to tackle feminist topics when she was questioned about the perceived Captain Marvel backlash and misogyny. So they really tried to pull a ballerina farm on her. Like the way that they're writing her in this interview is like a character, like she's brainwashed. Like she's some kind of North Korean like defector or something. So here's what they wrote. When I ask Brie Larson why she thinks some men were threatened by her casting in Captain Marvel, the temperature in the room plummets. I don't know, she says blankly. I don't pay attention. I ask if not paying attention is her way of dealing with the misogyny. They're so good at this, like just twisting and weaponizing words. A few seconds of chilly silence pass before she replies. What I would like you to see is that by continuing this conversation, you are putting me in connection with something that has nothing to do with me. This seems a startling thing to say. I try again by asking whether she believes that the film industry continues to pigeonhole actresses to the point that a female superhero can, for a certain sort of viewer, still feel like an aberration.
This isn't her taking Brie Larson's words. She's literally inventing shit and then dumping it into her lap so that she can then attach her name to it. I feel awful for Brie Larson in this context. Like, and here's the thing. This is what happens every time these celebrities go to these interviews. Do you remember when they were doing the red carpet for Agatha? This wasn't the celebrities bringing it up.
They're like, how gay is it? Tell us how gay it is.
Show it is. Is it the gayest show you've ever seen?
Is it the gayest thing you've ever seen?
And then poor Aubrey Plaza is like, yeah, I guess it is super gay. Like, what do I know? Like,
her husband saw that and he was like, F it, I'm done.
Not good.
So it gets worse from there. She replied, I don't think there is a way for me to answer that without it becoming a problem for me.
And here's the thing. This journalist knows that. They do not have their head in the sand.
She's trying to create a problem.
They are trying to create a problem because it benefits them with clicks. It's our job here to respond to the stupidity that every one of these artists says. Now, I have more respect for a celebrity that finds their way to weave around it. The problem is most of the time,
teach them the weave.
Most of the time they don't. Most of the time they offer this stuff up of their own volition. But a lot of the times now, they try to trick him into it. Think of what they tried to do with Henry Cavill when he was doing press for The Witcher. They're like, so what do you think of those toxic fans there? And he has to be like, well, I don't think they're toxic. I think that they're passionate. But Henry Cavill also had years of goodwill on his side with the audience. A lot of these celebrities don't have that. And the journalists are just out to just get them eaten up, just like chum. They just want to feed them to the sharks.
Well, yeah, Brie Larson certainly used to be one of those people who, of her own volition, brought up these topics.
She did when she won the whatever it was. I don't remember if that was her Oscar where she gave that particular speech. It might have been at a different award show when she says, "I don't need to know what a 40-year-old white dude thinks about A Wrinkle in Time." Look, she should be criticized for that, but we've that ship has already sailed. We're on well and past that now. It's not time to judge her on that. It's time to judge her on how she handles interviews now.
Right.
And this is what's going on now.
So she said, "I don't think there is a way for me to answer that without it becoming a problem for me." Her publicist intervenes to ask me to move on to the next question. So her publicist had to come to the rescue so she wouldn't end up having another media firestorm under her ass. And then they continue, "I can't work out whether Larson is angry or upset. She has spoken out before about sexism in Hollywood and has taken on the industry in other ways."
Gee, I wonder why she wouldn't want to recreate that experience. I, for one, am shocked.
In 2018, she called for greater ethnic and gender diversity in film criticism, pointing out that more than 60% of critics were white men. Yet today, she appears not only unwilling to engage with such issues, but even surprised to have been asked. She says later, "I don't feel that everything I'm saying is a stance. There are times that I speak out, and there are times when I don't. Larson is a curious mix. One minute, she's the sort of woman with whom you can imagine knocking back a few martinis. The next, she is prickly and unresponsive." Born Brianne Sidoni de Saulniers in Sacramento, California in 1989, reports say she changed her name to Larson because she was sick of people struggling to pronounce her surname. She moved to Los Angeles with her mother at the age of 7, following her parents' divorce, and was homeschooled by her own choice.
Wow, a homeschool kid.
So,
Here are some of the positive
this was the
things.
novel that they wrote about her to try to make sense of the fact that she wasn't entertaining their bullshit.
She did say some positive things about Carol Danvers. I noticed that you have to kind of pull that out of her. She says, "I was aware that taking Carol would make me more of a public person than I was before, but I thought that what the film was saying was more important than my fear, and I also thought I trusted myself to know how to manage my life." I mean, press X to doubt on believing that like anything in a Marvel movie has significant messaging, that it's important for society. That's just my personal opinion.
It's just slop.
She says, "It was a life-changing experience. A lot of the characters I play, I'm like, thank you, goodbye. Once it's done, I don't feel that I need to bring them home. With Captain Marvel, most of the things I learned from her agency, her sense of self, I'm keeping. It was great that she could also be that experience for others." See, she got the virtue signal in there. She got to talk about agency.
Okay, but you could say that about other characters, so it's not that.
No, it's not that bad.
It's not actually bad at all.
No, but I'm just saying.
But you know, you can go to this much effort and you can learn the dirty tricks of journalists. You learn to never trust journalists because of moments like this. And then they still throw you under the bus with this headline: Brie Larson on Marvel and misogyny. Like, that's how you start off the article?
You've already screwed her.
Like, she
had nothing to say on misogyny. She literally had zero to say on it. She said, "Don't ask me these questions."
Yeah, and they still do this to her. When are they going to learn? Clearly, she has learned better tactics with the media than she used to use. But, you know, still, you cannot even... Like, it's just crazy. I've met enough journalists to just know, like, there must be a whole course in like getting your journalism degree where it's just about emotionally manipulating people.
Yep.
You know, like you make them feel safe. You get invited into these people's homes.
You laugh with them.
And you laugh with them and you relate to them about your little quirks and idiosyncrasies.
The pen is a sword and it is
you
very
make them
mighty.
feel safe, and then you go right for the jugular with a headline like that. And then they wonder, like, why are the journalists so reviled? It must be a free speech issue.
Disparu says, "Hats off to Brie Larson. She seems to have finally realized that the press exists solely to bait her into saying something stupid. So now she stonewalls their entrapment." The problem is, for most celebrities, they are self-important. They are excited to get on their high horse.
Oh, yeah.
They do want to make these statements. So it's not even much to say that the journalists are good at their jobs. They actually just offer up the slightest inclination to do so. And most of them, you know, take to it like red meat. They love it. They want to talk about these things. They want to feel as if they're changing the world. They are not. None of us are. Sorry.
Most of them are assuming that people are just clamoring for them to speak on these issues. But it looks like, as annoying as Brie Larson is, she's never going to be as annoying as the average journalist. That's
Correct.
what we learned.
Yep.
And clearly she has learned her own lessons in the process as well. So maybe this is going to be like her turning point.
Hey, look, it's actually against our own interest to encourage them to do this, because you can only make this video so many times. It's more fun to dunk on them being out of touch, stupid, and self-important. But I do applaud them when they get it right and realize golf claps when they realize that the traditional mainstream journalists are not their friends. The problem is that they look at us as the enemy. Fine, whatever. You can say that all you want. I will both support you when you say the right thing and dunk on you when you say the wrong thing. The other journalists, the mainstream press, the legacy media journalists, are wolves in sheep's clothing. They are there to pretend to be your friend and then put you in the worst possible light, because the worst possible light is beneficial to their click rate. So, all right.
Let's read the rest of these super chats. Shane H. Wilder said, "Is it too much to ask to keep Kanye and Bianca's humiliation rituals off of my timeline? If there were Make-A-Wish kids there, then straight to jail." That literally is a crime, by the way. So, like, how are they not getting charged with indecent exposure? I don't understand. The Harsh Truth said, "Isn't it normal for some celebrities on the red carpet did not show much of a facial expression?" Yeah, I mean, they're looking into it for their own reasons, and they want to believe that Bianca is being abused because they can't stand the idea that a woman could be so greedy and craven to debase herself and humiliate herself for money and clout. But there are many women like that, and Bianca is one of them. Although I'm sure she's very nice, for what that's worth, which is almost nothing. Pete Donovan said, "True music lovers know the Grammys are a snooze fest."
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is called pop music because it's just the popular music. Not stuff I usually care about. Cleggy said, "I can't believe they're still doing award shows when there's a literal femicide happening in the Congo.
And there's a genocide going on in Gaza.
And wildfires and plane
in the
crashes.
provinces.
Things really are feeling pretty crazy lately.
The internet.
School shootings as well.
The
I mean,
internet.
it adds up.
It's because you're on, you have news sources on your phone 24/7.
It did not feel like this in 2022, for instance. It just didn't.
I'd have to go back and look at 2022.
Like, I feel like ever
numb
since
to-
the first assassination attempt on Trump, everything just felt like it's kicking off like so fast and in such like high octane. You know? Have you noticed that too, or is it just me? I wrote down a list.
A lot of other people feel that way too.
I wrote down a list of all of the happenings and remind me of any that I forgot. But okay, I wrote down like the first Trump assassination attempt, the second Trump assassination attempt, Luigi Mangione and the school shooting that happened in Wisconsin, the school shooting that happened in Nashville, the Cybertruck explosion, the LA wildfires, the plane crash in DC, the plane crash in Philadelphia.
1,500 small plane crashes a year. The first plane crash is the aberration because it had a commercial airliner, right? And then now all that stuff's coming out about scrubbing the social media of the female pilot was not a good idea because the conspiratorial crowd is going to take to that.
Of the DC one or the Philadelphia
of the
one?
DC one and everything like that. The rest of it, look, I mean, yeah, I guess. But I guess when I look at all this stuff, I'm also just like, we live in a country of 350 million people primed for with problems all the time because everyone's on, people are on antidepressants and they're sad and they're broke and they can't afford homes. They're looking at a phone 24/7 that gives them nothing but bad news. I'm actually shocked that it's not more.
Okay, fair enough. We have a 20 from Dr. Larsena. "You see, deep down inside, I always wondered if she was
Whatever
a
happened
real
to the spy
Larson."
balloon? Remember the spy balloon? A couple of years, like last year, the Chinese spy balloon, 2023. The hell happened to the Chinese spy balloon?
Yeah, I don't know.
Read that one again. Sorry.
From Dr. Larsena, "You see, deep down inside, I always wondered if she was a real Larson."
Well, it's Larson with an O, I believe.
She's French, though, not Swedish or whatever. Tacti Plati said Aaliyah wouldn't shout support for DEI.
I mean, I can't.
She probably would have.
I can't.
If she lived to this day, yes, she would. My best guess is that she would.
I do miss a good. You know, I'm gonna go watch Romeo Must Die tonight. I think if I can find it on any streaming service because I don't have any of my DVDs here. So.
Mega Red fan said Alicia said DEI and the people popped. Scary stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love it.
And the sad thing about that is Alicia Keys she is a fantastic example of not needing it. She is a fantastic example of somebody who succeeded on their own merit, a talented artist who made a name for themselves. Like, I don't know her ever. You could tell me she's got a famous dad who's an I don't know. I don't know her whole history. I know that she made a lot of music that a lot of people really, really liked and had nothing to do with the color of her skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one was a bop.
Right.
Perfectly
bop. Made it on her own merit, but can't stand the idea of other people.
I still remember. So it was in like 2008, and I was on tour skating, and we were in Philadelphia. Okay, this was not connected to that tour, but I was in Philadelphia for like a month, and that song was on the radio every day, the whole time. I swear. It's
a good song.
That and a bunch of Lil Wayne.
Pete Donovan said, my word, she sounds insufferably fragile and self-important, even without the healthcare mandate rallying cry. Yeah, Chapel Roan sounded like the
Hallmark
typical,
of the Zoomer, right? Self-important and...
But also not self-assured.
Yes.
Like, self-important, but also extremely insecure.
I know that what I'm saying is what everybody else thinks is right. I don't actually know if I think it's right myself.
Mm-hmm. Tacti Plati said, Brett, am I annoying in my own special way?
Everyone is, my friend. Don't worry about it.
Pete Donovan said the Beatles never needed the Grammys. I don't really even know
you don't need
the
them.
History of it.
You don't need them. So it's kind of like the same logic that WWF had, which was that, so bear with me with another wrestling analogy, which was that since it's sports entertainment, wrestling, and not, an actual physical sport, the point was that the person who wins the world championship should make the championship. They should be so popular that them having the belt is a foregone conclusion, right? You shouldn't need the title, the status of the title to make a person feel important. So there were plenty of times where Stone Cold Steve Austin main evented pay-per-views and the championship match, when he wasn't the championship, would go on before him because he was so popular that it didn't matter that he didn't have the title. He elevated the level of the belt to mean even more. So you should be so good as an artist that you elevate the Grammys, not the Grammys elevating you.
So who could do that today?
I mean, if we're being honest, those names that like Beyonce may actually be one of those people. It's just as a country artist, it's stupid.
Not these days.
But I'm saying Beyonce and Taylor Swift are the ones that do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it actually gives a rub to either of them. I don't think it does.
The last relevant thing that Beyonce ever did was Lemonade. That was a decade ago now. So... she's not relevant anymore. I don't think she's relevant anymore. Willem said, would you rather defend Kanye's socials to your kids or the crazy leftist post, especially the abortion ones?
I mean, I don't have to...
What?
I don't have to... Did you say defend them? What did you say?
What crazy leftist post, though?
I don't know.
Sorry, I don't really know what you're asking. Zach Hates YouTube said, Mary, the WAN show is LTT. Who is LTT? What? LTT's podcast?
I don't know.
WAN is an IT term Brett knows. Okay, Brett doesn't know. Also, I just can't take Miss Roan seriously with the clown makeup. Yeah, she looks insane.
Is it Linus Tech Tips? Because I don't watch it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm guessing LTT is Linus Tech Tips.
Oh, okay. I've heard of his channel before, yeah.
There's a 20 from the Manic Mustache.
Let me go find that. Late as usual, but apropos to finding out where the Chapel Roan finally is, the wife told me Billie Eilish got jobbed and we should all be praying for the downfall of the Beehive. Aaliyah was a better singer. Stay toxic, friends.
Aaliyah really was...
Was she a better singer than Beyonce?
I mean, I don't know about a better singer, but she definitely was one of those people that when you watched her back then, she just had it. She had charisma, she had it, and that is one of those things that is, it's undefinable, and you can't really put words to why some people have it and some people don't, but she did. And I think that she would be very, very prominent still to this day if she had lived. I always made the jokes. I would say that there would be no Beyonce if Aaliyah had lived. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I do believe that the landscape of music would look very different now if she was still around.
Ian Slater said, did the Grammys raise money for North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, etc.? Oh, that's funny. No, they didn't. They don't care about anyone who lives outside of their bubble. Corey Anderson said the topic was cringe Mary worse than the pee guy. What?
The what?
I don't know. Zach Yandel said, hi, Brett and Mary. Been thinking about this. I can only think of a few anime to recommend. Your Lie in April and A Silent Voice. Thought I'd give my 2 cents.
Hold, please. Let's get a 4th crisis party. Let's go.
Thank you. It's funny that you're offering your 2 cents, but you spent $4.99 to do it. Thank you for that.
Here's the deal. So
there's a deal.
The only suggestions I will take on anime are the ones that have the least amount of seasons. The more seasons something has, the less likely I am to watch it.
Oh my gosh, they all have like 57.
Yeah, that's it's just, but that's not just true with anime for me, unfortunately. Like, so I started making a list the other day of shows. So I was posting about there was a list of somebody made the engagement bait Twitter post that it's like, what's a show that got canceled too early? It's designed for people to be able to share their 2 cents about what they think it is. It's great. But the problem is then they're like, this show was 16 seasons. Really some people said Supernatural should have had more seasons. Are you kidding me? But the point is like, if a show only has 1 season, I'm like, let's freaking go. I don't even care if it got canceled early. That means that I get to complete it in like no time. Okay? I want shows. So there was a show called Battle Creek with Josh Duhamel and the dude from the Geico commercials, Dean Winters, I think.
Who?
Or not Geico. I forget what it is. The health who's the guy? He plays
Jake from State Farm.
No, it's not Jake from State Farm. It's the guy who's he's a famous commercial guy. But Dean Winters and Josh Duhamel only got 1 season. Okay, shows with 1 season I love. It's one of the things I love about Tubi and Roku. It's got all of these forgotten shows like the Frequency TV show spinoff.
Well, I love a limited series.
Yeah. Oh, I hate a limited series, but I want a show that was supposed to go on forever and only got 1 season. That's what I want. It was supposed to get 22 episodes a year and go on in perpetuity. I want it when it got canceled at like episode 13. Because I want to see what could have been.
Yeah. Pop Culture Junkie said, Mary, I've always been rather neutral on the surrogacy question. Thanks to how you've couched the practice, I'm now reconsidering my position.
There you go.
I'm glad, as anti-intellectual as this show can be. Maybe we can get you thinking sometimes. Pat the Plumber said, serious question. How do you know the child is traumatized other than common sense? LOL. Well, it kind of is common sense, but there is scientific evidence to show that newborn infants are traumatized by the experience of being separated from their mother. They need to have skin-to-skin contact, and they need to look into their mother's face.
Not Dennis Haysbert. It's Dean Winters. It's I saw somebody mention Mayhem. I don't know if that's Allstate. I don't know what it's. The point is he gets like destroyed or beat up in all of the commercials. But the point is he was also Horatio. He also played Horatio Cane's brother on CSI Miami. He's not just a commercial guy. He's actually an actor.
Baron of Grey Matter said Beyonce death metal album 2025.
We'll have to ask Phil what he thinks about that.
She can just branch out into every genre now, and she'll be the best at all of them.
Yes,
that makes sense. Shane H. Wilder said, Brett, their Hers plant is in Nottingham, Pennsylvania. You'll be able to get your ketchup chips. They also have tours there, apparently. Oh, you should go there.
But the thing
honeymoon!
That's such a good idea. We're
I'm always screaming ideas at you.
We're workshopping our honeymoon right now.
That's gotta be part of it.
But here's the thing. It wasn't the Hers ketchup chips were just so-so. I I think they were Lay's ketchup chips from Canada. Were
Oh,
the real
right,
ones. Just
right.
like Ruffles all-dressed chips are way better than Lay's all-dressed chips, which you can get here right now. I don't want them from Lay's. I want them from Ruffles. They're from Canada. I'm going to pay a fortune
I
because
want them for Ruffles, damn it.
because Trump has to, put the tariffs on Canada.
He's only for like a temporary.
There's been some great content
Period.
being made about the tariffs that I've actually enjoyed watching a lot because, like I said, funny to watch people talk about. I did see the American national anthem getting booed at Canadian hockey games.
Oh, rough.
Yeah,
So are they like not our ally anymore?
they will be. They'll fall. They'll fall in line. They need our.
Shane H.
They need.
Wilder.
Everyone knows they need our military.
Yeah. Shane H. Wilder said, "Des Sauniers, is that some kind of condiment?"
I don't even know what that means.
I was impressed with myself for even assuming like that was the right way to say it.
What is that word?
It's Brie Larson's old last name that she swapped out for Larson.
It's the people feeling bigotry towards their last name is a great litmus test for just how like addled someone's brain is. Everyone gets my last name wrong. I'm not offended, and it's fine.
Roma Nation said, "I thought it was breed of dog, Shane."
It does sound like a breed of dog.
Maybe. Pop Culture Junkie said, having interviewed a number of celebrities, when I read interviews, I have a pretty good gotcha question-o-meter. I don't like writers where you can smell an agenda in the first paragraph.
Yep.
You usually can these days. But I guess you're the only unbiased journalist out there.
The last of
You're the last one.
The last one, and we've got none left.
Pete Donovan said, Mary, have you seen the St. Anne Basilica in Quebec? I have never been anywhere in Canada, so no, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. Roma Nation said, you forgot the drones, Brett. LOL.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, the New
drones?
Jersey thing. I should put that on my list. I'm, like, going to compile a whole list of all the happenings.
You know, I don't know. Here's the thing. It's one of the reasons why I love the X-Files back in the day. Right? The fact
oh, my gosh,
the world
the New
was,
Orleans thing. They're all like
the Mardi Gras
yeah.
thing. Yeah. The thing is, like back in the day, when you're watching the X-Files, it's the fact that you couldn't know all of the stuff that was going on all the time. Remember when they'd have to look shit up on like microfiche? Like
What is that?
They'd have to pull up the little thing where they can flip newspaper articles across the screen because they're not actually uploaded onto a computer. You have to put them in the reader and then fly through the what are they called, like the little pictures of like headlines and stuff like that. They'd have to print out newspapers and then you could look at it on like the little reader. Life was better when it was harder to get information.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Not That Jon Stewart said Heat is available to watch on YouTube, FYI. So damn good. Brett refuses to watch anything on YouTube if it's free with ads.
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
Wait, so
I've got YouTube Premium, so
we
it
have
wouldn't
a 20.
matter.
David Ehrman said anime recommendation Gundam 0083. I don't know if I said that right. Stardust Memory? Maybe it's Stardust that you meant. 12 episodes, each under 30 minutes, set in main Gundam universe, but no other knowledge is needed. This series is also referred to as Top Gundam.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
I will never be an anime person.
We just I made a list of all. So I've showed Olivia lots and lots of television, but I made a list of the 15 shows that I showed her that she actually quite liked, and we just restarted The Mentalist, which she really, really enjoyed. So
it's so
yeah.
Depressing.
The Mentalist? No, so The Mentalist is actually great. I mean, the overall plot of the show, yes.
Yeah.
But like the what I love about shows like that, especially shows that do run longer that you got to watch, because I watched it along while it was on air, so it's less of a feel like I started this show with 7 seasons. Mm-hmm. But the point being is like you feel like you started the adventure over with them again when you start it from scratch. They're like going around the state of California, making people angry so they can figure out who committed crimes. I love it. And I believe that the 6th and 7th season are underrated when they left California and went to Texas and actually, changed up the formula a bit. I actually like that a lot.
I was just thinking yesterday that we really lived in a country where like Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead were like airing at the same time
Yeah.
in like the seasons of Walking Dead that like didn't suck.
Well, yeah, and I talk about that. That was at the same time when all those shows that I loved
just
on the
didn't
USA
know.
Network were all on TV at the same time.
We
as
didn't
well.
know what we had.
We were like so I've been watching High Potential with Caitlin Olsen from Always Sunny, and Daniel Sunjata, who was in Graceland, which was another show on the USA Network that was great at this time period when they had way more hits than misses. So you didn't know how good you had it between the years of 2008 and
Like
2014.
ish, yeah. Jewish AF of Christendom said, I wouldn't have chosen to have a severely disabled son, but I'm glad that I did. It made me into the man and father I am today. God trusted me with him. Well, if only people had that kind of mentality about life, but unfortunately those parents that I mentioned were clearly just trying to like force this woman against her will. Like they were really trying to use the state to force her to get an abortion for her own child. I know that genetically it wasn't related to her, but what people actually a lot of the times don't know is that when you're pregnant, you actually do inherit some genetic material from your child. So you're going to have their DNA in your body for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because of microchimerism. So it actually alters your DNA to be pregnant, regardless of the fact that you're not related to the biological parents of the child. So it's just really sick that they tried to do that to her. Thankfully, they didn't win. Pete Donovan said Tom Petty described modern country music as bad rock with a fiddle. Agreed, just like R&B in the 60s is now just pop and R&B is now bad hip hop.
I mean, I grew up on
Well, R&B was good until
90s. It was great in the 90s.
When did it stop being
Boys
good?
to Men was great.
It was fine until like mid 2000s.
2010s.
Yeah. Shane H. Wilder said, I do agree with Mary that the best place is your home parish. I love mine. It is the fastest growing on in the Diocese of Austin. Perpetual adoration and all of the relic tours. It's easy to see why.
Do they have like hype video packages like the fastest growing parish?
They have a like Sigma edit of the parish priest he's processing in.
Yeah.
Drone shots.
Love it.
Everything. Dr. Larsena said, JK, not serious. Larson with an O is usually Swedish, whereas with an E, usually Danish, Norwegian, by the way. Okay.
I'm picturing the Sigma
didn't know.
grind set song now as like a
Sing my boy,
Dee-da-dee-da-dee-da.
sing my boy, sing my boy. Hiroshima Otaru said, you mean the Havoc commercial guy?
I just know that he's famous for commercials. I know the guy from acting in TV and movies, but he's far more widely known for commercials.
DCNC said, I do miss all dressed in ketchup from my Canada days.
See? And the thing is like when
You're
you
not the
buy
only one.
the Ridges all dressed in Canada chips, it's got a big Canadian like logo, Canada flag right on the bag, so you can't miss it.
It just feels right.
I did see a picture where they're like showing like they've taken American liquor off the shelves in Canada and put little signs on there that say
Wow.
buy Canadian, which is a huge virtue signal because the liquor's already been bought by the from the distributor to the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do with it? Just drink it all?
Leave it there for a while and then put it back on the shelves after they've gotten done virtue
Boo.
signaling.
Zach Yandel said A Silent Voice is a single movie. Your Lie in April is a single season. Also, you're very funny, Mary. If you don't cry, I'll question your humanity. JK.
Just for future reference, Mary hates tone indicators. I consider JK a tone indicator.
Is that a tone indicator?
I mean, not really. It's not as bad as /S for sarcasm.
Oh, yeah, I hate that one. Actually, no, the worst one is like GQ, genuine question.
I didn't even know that one.
Like, yeah, thank you. You asked a question. Yurishima Otaru said Canada has had tariffs on U.S. goods for years.
Well, yes, but the politically uninformed people don't understand that or want to give honest time to why these tariffs are being put into place. It isn't just about fentanyl coming in from Canada. It is related to trade. And in a lot of ways, America has just allowed every other country to leech off us for a lot of years.
Brett, you should just go on IRL with me tonight and talk about tariffs.
Sorry, I've got better things to do tonight.
I never do. Shane H. Wilder.
By that, I mean rewatch some episode of something. I'll be on IRL on Friday.
Yes.
Besides, I'm just like, okay, on Friday, I don't even remember what they got into talking about China at like the 9 o'clock hour, and Serge had a lot to say. And then people were like, Brett just didn't talk for like 30 minutes. I'm like, well, I don't know anything about it, so why would I say anything?
But if you did say something without knowing what you're talking about, they'd be like, why is he talking when he doesn't know what he's talking about?
Yeah,
like people will just find something to be bothered by.
Like I was like, when I have something to say on a specific topic, I talk. When I don't, I don't. So then people are like surprised, like, you just stopped talking for like a half an hour. I'm like, yeah, like I'm usually the dumbest one there, so I'll just let the smart people talk. That's fine.
That's how I feel. Shane H. Wilder said Brett prefers the all-dressed chips over the Bianca Sensori chips.
That's true.
Yeah. Can you imagine if they just sold like potato chips that have no salt, nothing? Like it's just potato.
And they're called the Bianca Sensori chips.
They're
called
Bianca
Sensori chips.
Yes. Pop Culture Junkie said have done research on
microfiche.
Microfiche.
See, also, purely from a filmmaking standpoint, it always looked cooler when they had to pull up the microfiche on the projector and you see it fly past as they go from article to article. It was just a greater visual. I prefer that to like for instance, hot take, I don't like it when somebody's reading a text message on screen and they make a graphic for it so that you can read it clearly.
I love that.
I hate that shit. It was cool when they did it in House of Cards. Everybody else should have just left it alone.
I liked it in Mr. Robot. I liked it in Sherlock. The
Sherlock one.
Okay,
the Sherlock one when they unlock the password and it's I am Sherlocked might have been the worst moment in television history.
I don't care that it's corny. I love it.
I am Sherlock.
Pete Donovan said, Brett, you think you're suffering from the tariffs. My favorite model train company ships product from Canada. Shout out to Rapido Trains in Ontario.
Damn.
Ontario. Pop Culture Junkie said, correction, have done research on microfiche. Now I feel old. I don't know what that correction is for. But
now we need microdots. You know, the thing that they used to use in that spies used to use. It's like this big and it's got a whole document on there.
One more from Potatoes for Seamus. Brett, have fun at the Diddy party next weekend.
What the fuck does that mean? Oh, by the way, we are very close to a fourth crisis party, so we should see if we can get to that before we finish the show, guys. Just saying. Hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel, guys, if you have not done so already. If we do make it to the fourth crisis party, there will, in fact, be a post-credit scene here, guys. So, Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. I will also be back on IRL tonight. And we have one more super chat from High Voltage 75. In case you missed it, the groundhog saw his shadow, so unfortunately we're getting 6 more weeks of winter.
I actually wanted to do a whole topic today on Punxsutawney Phil and his poor track record. I think he's like 40% success rate. He's less than flipping a coin, guys. He's a false idol in a lot of ways. I don't know. I read a whole article. They were comparing him to other meteorologists. He's not an accurate predictor of the weather, but we'll have to wait and see. He lives like a king, though, over there. You know that?
Yeah, they treat him like royalty.
They treat him very well.
Pamper him.
All right, guys. If you would like to, again, I'm gonna
tell us who the guest is. I'm not allowed to do that.
Yeah,
that's not my pay grade.
Another one here from Potatoes for Seamus.
Brett will live stream the Diddy party for a crisis.
First of all, Diddy's in jail, so there are no Diddy parties, and I would never go to one anyway.
Visiting hours.
But he was just in the hospital for knee pain. So he's literally they literally turned it into the meme, the knee surgery meme.
Okay.
No, I'm not kidding. This isn't a joke. He actually like they had to like bring him into the hospital by cover of darkness to have like an X-ray done, and it just turned into a meme. They're gonna say that it was Dr. John Pork.
Of course. Yeah.
All right, guys. If you would like to follow me, I am on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, guys, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would prefer to listen rather than watch the show, you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And if you want to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Last call for a crisis party. Is it going to happen? I have no idea.
Maybe when we sign off.
Well, you wait it for a second and then we'll sign off. All right, guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see y'all then.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.